So we're going to kick off part 2 of our deep dive into intermittent fasting with our interview with Ori Hofmekler. Ori's the guy who brought intermittent fasting to the masses in the early 2000s and has since been a pillar within the community of health and wellness. You can't mention intermittent fasting without mentioning one of Ori's studies. Ori is 67 years old and is still going strong to this very day. He spent some of his early career in the Israeli military, which is what sparked his interest in survival science, as you can imagine. After his time at the Israeli military, he went back to study human science. His most famous book, The Warrior Diet, which is based on survival science, was the first introduction to intermittent fasting and proposes a really radical dietary approach that challenges most commonly accepted ideas around health, diet, and fitness. His most recent book, The 7 Principles of Stress, where he shows us just how stress affects our biology and when stress can be good if and when triggered in the correct context. Ori clears up a lot of myths around intermittent fasting and its effectiveness. So for me, this was a really insightful episode. I learned a ton from Ori, as you can imagine. But before we get into this episode, I would like to talk about one of our sponsors, Roman. Now, did you know 52% of guys will experience erectile dysfunction at some point in their life? Studies show that 70% of you guys who experience erectile dysfunction won't talk to your doctors. ED is like a check engine light. It's often the first sign of something more serious going on, like high blood pressure or high cholesterol or heart condition, diabetes, anything along those lines. ED can be the warning light or the telltale signs that something more serious is going on. Roman is a one-stop shop to treat your ED from home. From online diagnosis by a licensed physician to fast and convenient home deliveries of FDA-approved medication, making the whole process as quick and painless as possible. To get started, all you have to do is visit getroman.com/Lyle and complete a brief online visit. A licensed physician will review your application and get back to you within 24 hours. Guys, go and talk to the doctor. Erectile dysfunction can be tough to tackle, but it's really important to get it checked out sooner rather than later. And with Roman, it's easy to take care of it. Okay guys, let's get into the action. Okay, Ori, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
So Ori, as I said earlier, myself and Michelle, we've been doing a lot of deep diving into intermittent fasting. So it was fitting for us to kind of reach out to you, the man who kind of invented or reinvented, so to speak, intermittent fasting in the early 2000s. So from a very basic perspective, for someone who doesn't know anything about intermittent fasting, how do you explain it?
Intermittent fasting is a name. The way I presented it first time is by minimizing meal to one main meal per day, where you had the option during the active hours of the day to either not eat at all, like water fasting, or undereat, which is a system that I prefer. I believe it's even more beneficial than fasting alone. Both are effective, both work, but the idea is that you fast for a significant period of time to basically induce a sufficient biological effect, beneficial effect on your body, and then compensate with a proper meal after the fasting. So it comes in a cycle. What I introduce actually is a concept that I still, and I'm proving that is the only effective process today, is the one main meal per day. When I introduced this concept, I was basically accused of dietary blasphemy because I asked people to not eat breakfast, not eat a typical lunch, when everybody were brainwashed to believe at that time, it was 20 years ago, that we need and we must eat frequently, maybe small meal, but frequently to keep our energy and keep our metabolism. So I was accused of offering a very dangerous way of eating While 2 years after the publication of my first book, The Warrior Diet, studies by the NIH under Professor Mark Matson proved that my approach was correct. It actually, they put mice and rodent under a diet very similar to the Warrior Diet and have shown that not only the mice improve body composition, increase the lifespan by at least 50%, these mice managed to reverse what we know now as disease that are associated with diabetes and dementia. Like Parkinson or Alzheimer. The way that was also quoted as a reference by article by Professor Mark Matson at the British journal Lancet. And at that point, people start to take more seriously the concept of intermittent fasting. Now, every other person is jumping on the wagon with their own system.
Yeah.
Every other day fasting, 3-day eating, 1 day or 2 days fasting. I mean, when you do the calculation, you've got millions or billions of combinations that anyone can do. But in the end of the day, it is the one main meal a day that works. If you ask me why, because we are built around the circadian clock. In my latest book, The 7th Principle of Stress, I showed clearly how even doing the right thing can turn to be detrimentally wrong if you overdo it. If you extend the stress as supposed to benefit you intermittently into longer stress, the body can perceive it as chronic stress. Hence, instead of doing intermittent fasting when you gradually fast maybe for 12 up to 18 hours per day and then eat, some people extend it 24 hours or even 48 hours, which can be detrimental for the body. The body starts to perceive it as chronic stress, and the consequences of chronic stress are extremely damaging on our bodies.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about some of the stuff you said earlier. So intermittent fasting isn't a diet, so to speak. You don't do this for a period of time. This is more of a lifestyle, right? So you don't...
It is correct. It is called a feeding cycle to which we, humans and other mammals, have evolved. We are programmed for that. I clearly explain in my books what was the evolutionary advantage of us following intermittent fasting. But Philip, it's like anything else. You can argue forever. So are we programmed to exercise?
Yeah.
So are we programmed to eat green food? The answer is yes. There is evidence that we as a human species evolved to exercise. That means be physically active. There was an evolutionary advantage because we were forced in the past, in primordial time, to be physically active. So there was an evolutionary advantage for us to be physically fit to survive. We also evolved in a time when the food that primarily was accessible was close to the earth. Green grass, legumes, anything that we collect. We are more gatherers than hunters. Every evidence shows that virtually all essential nutrients are coming for us from plant sources, whole plant sources, rather than animal sources. It is a very, very solid fact. But I just want to throw something that sounds maybe bizarre, but if you read my latest book, you can see by Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, everything has to relate to there are 10 spheres, to the sphere of Malkut. That means it's a kingdom.
Yeah.
Kingdom is down there on the feet, down there on the earth. So if we are not connected to the earth, to the kingdom, everything that we do is not viable. When you think about it, maybe that's the first time I'm saying it, but I strongly believe that we need to really base on our diet what grows on the ground. Mostly greens, grasses, leafy green, and then going up to what grows on the trees. Animals do not grow on the ground. Eating animals is not the best thing. I explain why. But plants contain nutrients beside vitamin, minerals, whatever the FDA in the US, England, and Europe tell you.
Yeah.
The most important vital nutrient are called stress-activated nutrients. These are nutrients that plants produce to protect the plant from the stress that it's under. It could be heat shock, cold shock, lack of fertilization, lack of water. This compound that extend the plant life, when you consume them, it extends your life. Literally, it is now known that there are bioactive molecules of plant that activate your longevity genes. Yeah. They activate the key your longevity, that AMPK, that literally transform your body. This molecule mimic the effect of exercise and fasting on your body, even when you don't exercise and fasting. SAF, nutrient, yes, think about it. We evolved in a diet, in a world, that the food that we ate gave us the benefit of exercise 24 hours a day. Now, most people still do not exercise, and if they do exercise, the benefit is limited, maybe to an hour a day, maybe less, because most people eat right after exercise and they abolish the benefit that could have get. Okay, I saw a lot of information now, but bottom line, that's the diet. The intermittent fasting, first of all, gave you the big advantage of fasting that activate the same longevity genes that I just described, or you can under-eat on food that complement fasting by giving you the molecule, the SAF molecule that mimic the effect of exercise and fasting, even more so. Then the compensation down on food low on the food chain, low glycemic, in certain kind of combination that makes sense.
Right. And so for intermittent fasting, is that something that you think people can do every single day? Because we read different studies and we've spoken to different people. For example, we spoke to the guy who's kind of introduced this new kind of 5-day mimicking fasting soup, which I'm sure you've heard of. Do you think intermittent fasting is something that can be sustained over a long period of time, or should people do it in cycles, as you say? So is it something that you do for 1 month? Is it something that you do for 3 months? Like, how does it go?
You know, people ask me, is it okay to have cheat days? Is it okay? The public today, people are constantly trying to look for excuses.
Yeah.
Why to be more and more materialistic? Why to allow themselves the hedonic pleasure of sweet and this, of whatever, the grandma cookies that they dream on and stuff like this. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to be over popular. No, there is no place for cheat days. If you want to excel, you need to train your body to enjoy the process of intermittent fasting. But proper intermittent fasting does not need to be about fasting per se. You can undereat great food. You can enjoy the taste of berries, of greens, or even beets. I show a list of food that extremely complement fasting, actually give you even more benefits. So you don't need to really starve yourself. But that's as far as I would say. If you want to hear, yes, you can cheat one day and then do 5 or cycle between good days and bad days, you're not going to hear from me. I don't believe in it. I believe that it's really a matter of consciousness. And we started years ago, after the Industrial Revolution, people got used to all this industrial food, which yield very aggressive taste, especially sweet taste. Junk food become, part of our culture. Many people are addicted to it. So, like any addiction, you then need to get rid of it. What can be done? What are the solutions? I'm personally working around solution on innovating natural food substance that will remove sugar or reduce substantially sugar and create tasty food treat that look like junk, but they're 100% healthy. That's a subject by itself.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a place for innovation because I'm personally involved in this. But there's no excuse to continue eating junk or wrong food to sabotage yourself less. Why not shooting to the sky? Why not really beating the stuff that make us weak, old, and sentence up for premature death?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
I just want to take this time out to talk about one of our sponsors and supporters, Roman. Roman is a one-stop shop to treat your ED from home. From online diagnosis by a licensed physician to fast and convenient home deliveries of FDA-approved medication, making the whole process quick and easy and painless. To get started, all you have to do is visit getroman.com/Lyle. That's getroman.com/Lyle and complete a brief online visit. A licensed physician will review your application and get it back to you within 24 hours. Guys, go and talk to the doctor. Erectile dysfunction can be tough to tackle, but it's really important to get it checked out. And with Roman, it's easy to take care of. Get FDA-approved medication shipped right to your door with free 2-day shipping. Your ED meds will always be shipped to you in discreet, unmarked packaging. So no need for awkward encounters or awkward conversations. You can really take care of this on your own with the help and support of Roman. Okay, let's get back into the action.
And so, with what you're saying, you said so many great things just now. So you don't believe in eating animals. So as a source of protein, we can live off enough greens and naturally grown products. You don't need...
No, it's not. I'm not, Philip. I'm pescatarian.
Right.
Partly because I guess I just feel very sorry for avian and mammals, not feel so sorry for the fish yet. Once I feel it, I'm gonna stop eating fish.
Okay.
But honestly, it's just a more part. But I do eat eggs and I do eat good dairy from grass-fed cows.
Okay.
My vision is this: that except for milk and fish, animal food, especially flesh of mammals, is full of, including grass-fed animals, is full of inflammatory compound, partly and largely because these animals are very intelligent. And I'm sure you saw little lambs and calves and animals, and you can pet them. They are very intelligent, and they know when they are be gone or grazed to be slaughtered. Just think about how intelligent they are. They feel like us. They have a soul. They feel the fear, and that causes chronic stress, and that causes inflammatory compound from cytokine hormones, for stress hormone, that are very bioactive, and they can affect your body. It's almost like a karmic effect of eating the wrong food. Today, the industrialization of animal slaughter is horrible. I'm against it, first of all, from the cruelty reason. I believe it's just wrong, all wrong. But I know that many good people eat meat, they're just not ready to give up. Nevertheless, the fact of that, all meat, including from grass-fed and good, contain inflammatory hormone. Animals are not really killed humanely, and there's no single advantage of eating meat. We can have all the benefit of protein from legumes, milk, if you're allergic to milk, eggs, and nuts and seeds. We can live much, much longer. And finally, as human age, as time goes by, there must be a switch. I explained it again in my latest, there must be a switch in the diet. Apparently, when we reach a state when the body do not grow anymore, any excess of growth can be detrimental. Not just because it causes cancer, it causes acceleration of aging of the tissue, and aging can affect people already in their 20s. Look, there's no doubt about it. Aging is not necessarily, as we think, so much age-related as it is stress-related. When we either have inadequate stress, lack of stress, or chronic stress, can age our body, the organs inside and in the periphery. It can age our liver, it can age our pancreas, it can age our kidneys and the skin. And you can see young people suffer from diabetes, from liver disease, from kidney disease, already in an age that it should never have happened. It's interesting on the correlation between animal flesh and degradation of the body and the incredible benefit of proteins that coming actually from plant sources. As we age, we do much better on protein from plant sources. There's too much to talk about it now, but that's my take on that.
No, that's incredible. And I want to ask, based on what you're saying now, so what can, let's say, a guy in his mid-20s, early 30s, super overweight, how does he, take on this philosophy, and then how does he implement it slowly? Is there a way to ease someone into this? Or do you think it's just from day one, once they've kind of been hit with the insight and the knowledge, that they just start reducing what they eat and start, eating one meal a day?
Actually, in this case, based on my experience and clients that I have, or people that I try to help losing weight, and some of them are obese, and you can actually see some picture before and after on my Facebook. Yeah. It's just amazing to see that. And I think that the gradual approach is the right approach, unless the person feels. Why? Because in the case of extreme overweight or obesity, the body has a tendency to release a lot of fatty acid to the circulation, and that can cause a serious threat on the pancreas, accumulation of lipids or free fatty acid or triglyceride in the circulation could cause damage to the beta cell of the pancreas. To avoid that, it's very important for the very overweight people, when they do intermittent fasting, do it gradually, ideally exercise while fasting, but after you exercise and fast, do not eat. Give the body several hours to absorb the fatty acid from the circulation, so you did not waste your good effort. One of the biggest mistakes is to eat for the purpose of weight loss, is to eat after exercise, especially when you exercise on empty. You have this window of opportunity when the body broke fat storage, released a lot of fatty acid to the circulation. Now there's a window of opportunity to use this fatty acid for energy, rather than give the body the signal by eating to send them back to the fat store for storage. The body cannot afford having high concentration of lipid in the circulation. As I said, it can be detrimental to the pancreas and can cause even cancer of the pancreas. So the body will do everything possible to absorb or eliminate this fatty acid that you burn while you exercise. Give your body the few hours to move it into the liver, into burning, or to the muscle, into burning, rather than sending it back to your fat store to restore. The second thing, probably as important if not more, very important to follow intermittent fasting by the book, and perhaps even consume the soft nutrient. People will want to see what are the soft nutrients like berberine, salicin, resveratrol, curcumin, etc. And decide they can go to Defense Nutrition Store on Amazon. We work years to extract them, etc. When you exercise or fast or consume nutrients that mimic fasting and exercise and activate this gene that actually not only extend your life, they program you actually to burn fat rather than store fat. You also activate genes which are called PPAR, alpha and gamma. The gamma convert your fat cell from stubborn fat cell to more active fat cell. The alpha actually do the final job. They basically transform your body in favor of fat burning rather than fat storing. Many people who abuse themselves over the years with junk food or frequent feeding program the body to store fat. These fat cells are generally large and often turn stubborn, especially in the belly area. It's not just important to shrink this and empty this fat storage. It's important to activate genes that convert them from stubborn fat to active fat. These are called PPAR alpha. And while you fast, or while you activate or consume this nutrient that mimic fasting, the soft nutrient, you activate certain kind of transcription, cell-of-X transcription co-activator is called PGC, 1 alpha or PGCs, and they actually really and literally transform your muscle, transform your fat cells to becoming efficient in fat burning. I'm limiting the subject to weight loss because there is much more other benefits too. There is incredible benefit on your brain and the rate of aging in your body. They literally block the aging process.
Wow. I wanted to, before we wrap up here, I wanted you to kind of speak a little bit about optimizing health and longevity through the principles of biological stress. I know in your new book, The 7 Principles of Stress, you talk about the benefits of stress. So could you just talk a little bit about how we can improve our health and longevity through stress?
What is becoming now clear that there is certain kind of, I would say, a pattern of how stress affects our life. Stress is inherent to life. We evolve in a world that stress is a constant factor. So every organism, from bacteria to human, have a system responsible to respond to stress and turn the organism resilient to stressors that would have otherwise killed the organism. We are not an exception. We have a stress response system that is so powerful. If we just give it a chance, it can literally block the aging process while turning us resilient to stress. I mentioned it before, and I have a full chapter in my book proving that the aging process is more stress related than age related. If we just know how to apply the right stress at the right time, and it's very individualistic, okay? If we know how to do it, we can literally transform our body to reach peak longevity, perhaps far and beyond what conventional thinking make us believe. In the Bible, it's written that people live hundreds of years.
Yeah.
In my book, I prove, at least bring the evidence, that lifespan of mammals can be more than doubled. There is evidence for that. It may be too late for some of us, but it's not too late in a principle term. So, basically, the lack of stress or the inhibition of stress response is the key culprit to why we're not doing well. We live today in a system, Philip, that constantly exposes us to the temptation to eat stuff that inhibit our stress response. Sugar is central to our problem. Sugar is the most powerful inhibitor of your ability to respond to stress. And the more you eat, the worse it gets. Then there are chemicals. I put a list of chemicals, from pesticides to a chemical preservative to even artificial sweeteners, additive, that when you read the evidence, they inhibit your ability to respond to stress and even behave as you evolutionary were programmed to. It is very possible, despite all this, to clean our diet and arrange a lifestyle without changing who we are. You can keep your job, you can keep your great life, your marriage, your responsibility and everything, but with the right knowledge, you can redesign your life and enjoy your life and enjoy it. Believe me, I enjoy my meals. I'm not constantly restricting myself. My body has different priorities today, and the bodies of the multiplied people who follow the warrior diet or the right intermittent fasting, your taste bud and priorities change. Philip, think about people who never exercise. They see going and they see the physical pain of exercise so frightening. It doesn't occur to them that if they try to exercise, perhaps like yourself, you cannot after that do without it.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot. It's the same thing with intermittent fasting and the right diet. You just need to give it a chance because your body is programmed for that. People who never had sex in their life, yet sex is programmed in their genes, do not know until they try.
Yeah.
And if they do it right, they don't want to give up on that. And the same thing with the right diet. Give it a chance. Don't destroy and disrupt your system with food to which a human species did not evolve for. All that said, I believe that individual free will or choice is a key element here, is a key factor. You need to carefully adjust your intermittent fasting to fit your need. Some people will do well on water fasting. Some people can introduce some of the list of the food that I mentioned, like berries or some kind of plant nutrients or even light whey protein or light dairy protein during the day. It does not destroy the fasting impact. In fact, in many ways, it just enhances it. People who are active, physically active, definitely should take advantage of under-eating rather than water fasting. You just need to know how we do it right. And there is no exception. Anyone can do it. So unless you are under clinical situation that does not allow you to take advantage of your evolutionary program to excel, maybe there are cases like this. There are cases where people have to take antibiotics, etc., or drugs. That doesn't mean that healthy people should take antibiotics or drugs. There are cases. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about people who are not under clinical condition. People who suffer from diet-related overweight, obesity, or athletes who struggle with making weights, or normal people. They are not obese. They just struggle with their weight and energy.
Yeah.
Give it a chance. It's a simple program that can be adjusted personally. You cannot lose here.
Ori, that is awesome. You've just given us so much to chop on right now. Where can people find you if they want to get in contact with you, Ori?
They can find me, Ori Hofmekler, on Facebook or Instagram. My book, The Warrior Diet, The Anti-Estrogenic Diet, and the latest, The 7 Principles of Stress, are available on Amazon.com or at my publisher, North Atlantic Books, in collaboration with Penguin. They are the publishers of my books.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ori.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
You too.
I hope you guys got something out of that. I certainly did. And I'm definitely going to be trying intermittent fasting again in February. Actually, the month of February, I'm going to be doing intermittent fasting so I can share my results and findings with you guys in real time. I'll be you guys' guinea pig. How about that? How about that? Okay, cool. Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a review on the Apple Podcasting app or on Anchor. You can't leave a review on Anchor, but you know what I mean. You can listen to us anywhere. Review us wherever you can and share this episode. Share this knowledge with someone else. Someone else needs to hear this. Someone else is doing intermittent fasting all wrong. And after listening to this, hopefully they won't be doing it as wrong. Oh yeah, and by the way, check out Lyle. I mean, download Lyle if you haven't already. We're available on the App Store, only in the US at the moment. Sorry, everyone else, but we're still doing some stuff. So be sure to check out Lyle. We're on the App Store at Lyle. Just Google Lyle and it'll come up, Lyle. Download the app. Currently giving 50% off.